Let's talk about children. I'd like to open up a conversation about what would be the characteristics, the attributes that you would love to see in your kids when they have reached a certain age to where you're not parenting them anymore. They may still be in your house, but they are young adults or even adults. Think of what are the characteristics, the attributes that you would like to see in them? And we could sit here and probably go through a lot of different attributes that we would like to see in our kids, characteristics and things of that nature that we would like to see in our children. But in all actuality, there 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 are attributes and characteristics that you will not see until your children become married, um, because marriage would call for a different set of characteristics than being single. There are some characteristics that you won't see until they become parents, because once you become a parent, then there are different characteristics that takes over or should be part of you that may not if you did not have any children. So there's many, many different characteristics and attributes that we would want to see in our children. But if you had to narrow them down to just a few basic characteristics that would, if you saw this in your child as they venture out into life, you would feel satisfied as a parent. And I have been thinking about this because now my children are adults. The youngest is 23, the oldest is 41. And I have 7 children. So I have a pretty good picture to look at. I have what you would call a sample size to look at. 3 kids are my own biological kids, and then 4 bonus kids came as about of my second marriage, and they were already, I think the youngest was 4 at the time, and the oldest was probably about 12 or 13 at the time. But now they're all adults, and they all live probably within 15 or 20 minutes of my house, except I do have a biological daughter that moved to Orlando, so she's probably about 2.5 hours away. But we all come together at different times and on different occasions. And the 3 characteristics that I see in them, and I think with these 3 characteristics, other things would work themselves out over time, because they're not perfect. We're not perfect parents, and they're not perfect. But one thing I can say about them, and I can say this about the 3 kids that I helped raise who were not my children, but at a certain time in my life, they were in my house, and that's my nieces and nephews. And I have 3 that I've helped raised, because they lived with me for a while when they were small. So I had an opportunity to make an impression on them. But what I could see in all of them, and really all 9 of them, 10 really, if I include the 3 nieces and nephews, they're all respectful. They're very respectful. They don't always agree with each other, and they definitely don't always agree with me. But they're very respectful, even in communicating when they disagree with me or each other. They're very, very respectful. Another attribute I see in them is they all have a sense of confidence in who they are. Some may be a little higher than others, but they all have, I would say, self-esteem. They all seem to have a mental or emotional independence about them. And the third thing, and these are I'm naming 3 characteristics that I see in them. The first one was they were respectful. The second is self-esteem and confidence. And the third is they're all productive. And I think if most parents out there will agree, if we could see these 3 things in our children, once they get out and get old and start to venture into life, we have done a decent job as a parent. We're not perfect. Our upbringings and our decisions may not have been perfect, but if we can have respectful adults who have a sense of confidence and self-esteem and who are productive, I think other things would take care of themselves. So now, if you have small kids, and if you agree that these 3 things are things that you want to see once they become older, what I did is I just reverse engineered, and as I was raising them and I was making decisions on how to address certain things, I let those 3 things be guideposts to whether, okay, if I let this specific thing go, how would this affect my end goal? And I think in parenting, we don't begin with the end in mind. We begin and we only see the beginning. And I hear and I see parents do things, and I'm thinking, can they see down the road what that's going to amount to? You know, it's funny. I was just a few days ago, I was watching a couple. They had a baby in the carriage, and then they had a little boy, probably about 3, 4 years old. And I heard the father, the mother was pushing the carriage. The father was talking to his son, and he was, I can't remember what he was saying. I didn't even really hear clearly what he was telling the little boy, but I heard clearly the little boy saying, no, no. And I heard him say that like 3 times. And every time he had a sharp no, the father said something very easy, sort of like, well, you know, if this don't happen, then, you know, whatever. But I'm listening to this kid, telling his father no. And I thought about, if he allows that kid to reject his wisdom and instruction as a loving parent, if he allows this kid to reject him, where would this lead to? This habit of rejection don't go away. It just grows into different forms. And I'm thinking, Does he know what he's doing? Can he see down the road that this little child will be an adolescent son one day and a teenage son, and this son will need the wisdom of his father to navigate through life and even into as a young adult? And if he is allowing him to develop the habit of saying no and rejecting him at 3, what's going to happen at 23? It's not going to change. And I don't think parents parent with the end goal in mind. The end goal being, I want a respectful adult as a child, as a parent to a child. I want a respectful adult. I want an adult that's productive. I want an adult that has a good sense of self-esteem and confidence in him or herself. Do they make decisions when the children are little that points to that goal? Or do they not? Or do they only parent for the day or for the minute that's right there? I tried as a father to address everything with the end in mind, which means you're going to have to confront things that would not equal what you're trying to build in that child. So I don't want to make this too long because there's a lot to be said about this. But what do you think? Do you agree that if your child is respectful as an adult toward you, if your child has self-esteem and confidence and is productive, that you can look at that and say, okay, I did a decent job as a parent? What happens if you can't see these things? So we're going to talk about each one of these things in the next videos. I'm going to share things that I did because I believe that they are principles that can produce results. I don't think that it was luck that I have 10 children, 7 children, and 3 nieces and nephews that are very respectful towards me now. I don't think that was luck, because you don't strike luck 10 times in a row. And to have all 7 of my children and my 3 nieces and nephews to be productive and have also a good sense of self, I don't think that was luck. I think you have to parent with intention. And what I am experiencing now is it's a good thing. I have a great experience when I sit around and talk to my children. They're open, they're respectful, they share things with me, all 7. It's a special thing when your stepchildren accepts you as their father. It's more special than your own children because your own biological children did not have a choice. You were the only thing they had. But when a stepchild, especially a stepchild of age, accept you as their father, when they have a father, it's a beautiful thing. And I love my stepchildren, and it's not a time that when they come in my presence that they're not hugging me My stepsons always give me a hug. My biological sons always give me a hug. They hug their mother. They love their mother, and we enjoy the conversation. It's almost like they're our friends, and it's just a beautiful thing. But I want to share some of the things that I did in the beginning that I believe led to this. Because I think every tree bearing fruit had to start as a seed. And there were some fundamental things that was implemented, and it was implemented consistently. And those were the seeds that became the fruit-bearing trees that I am enjoying now in this part of my life. And I don't know, I'm quite sure that, you have comments. There's not everything you're going to agree with. As I share these things of how I came about these three main characteristics, some things you may agree with, some things you may not. I would love your comments. If you like this, like the channel, and there will be more videos that I would do, because this is a subject that is ongoing. Things that I did when they were small, things that I did when they were adolescent, decisions that I made that may have seemed a little anti or against cultural norms. However, I believe they paid back. They paid back with great results. And again, my children are not perfect. They have their hang-ups. I have my hang-ups. My wife have her hang-ups. But we do enjoy their company. So I'm going to start the next video with things that I did in the early days that built respect. Because remember, the first thing we said was respectful. You have to remember this. And when I start the next video, I'm going to end with this, and I'm going to start the next video with the same thing. Without respect, you have no love. How can you love someone you have no respect for? If you want a house of love, the foundation has to be respect. Without respect, there is no love. They may tolerate you, but there's no true love there. They have to respect you. And that doesn't just go for parent and child. Think about it. Is there any relationship, whether it be, marital or co-workers, boss, whatever, is there any relationship where you could truly love someone but yet have no respect for them? So I realized respect was key. It was key to pouring the foundation that the house of love can be built upon. So remember that. And when I start the next video, I'm going to start with this same statement, that in order for there to be love, there have to be respect. So see you on the next video.